Welcome, survivors, burnout community, and those just interested. It's Kelly Bubolz, trainer, author, speaker, and your burnout prevention mentor. Burnout is not taboo. It's our reality in this chaotic, fast-paced world. But we're not going to let it drive the narrative to our stories. We're going to do something about it, so let's dig in.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan and I work on the marketing team at PC NameTag, and today I am here with Kelly Bubolz. She is a speaker, trainer, and author. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me today.
Great, awesome. So I would love to learn a little bit more about what you do. Could you tell us about your programs and your speaking and your training?
Yeah, I'm an HR professional, 2 decades as a leader in human resources, mainly in the manufacturing industry. So low budgets, no people, and just constant chaos. So after my own burnout crash, I now work with organizations to engage energy and productivity while preventing burnout. So through this process, I've kind of created a framework that shifted from mental health and how we're going to deal with stress to root cause, addressing the things that are happening in the workforce that we continue to go back to day after day. And through this process, I was able to create a workforce energy management framework. And this guides teams from that blast state, from that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and back to energy where they're excited to come to work. They're excited about the teams that they're on. Leaders have passion again, and we can continue to be in this world that's ever changing versus battling the reality of it.
One thing that you taught me recently is this concept of workforce energy management. And I thought that was really interesting. So I thought we could talk about it a little bit today. And it's definitely something that applies to my event planners at PC NameTag. So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about what workforce energy management is.
Yeah, so over the last 2 years, I've been working with the workforce on engaging this energy, preventing burnout. And I found some common trends, and they really came down to 4 categories: a sense of direction, communication and collaboration, team trust, and then that workflow optimization. So what I found within these trends is that most teams are lost. They're trying to apply traditional methods with a modern day workforce, and then again in an ever-changing world. So one day when I was hiking, I'm using my compass and I looked down and I said, this is it. All these trends I can put into 4 categories using a compass mechanism to guide a team in directions that they need at any point in time. So N or north is navigate, the sense of direction your team is going. Where are you innovating? Where do you need to innovate? E or east is expedition. So who are the people that you're on this journey with? How can you collaborate and communicate better together? S is synergy. So that's that team trust and collaboration, accountability. How are we being reliable? Where do we need some work there? And then W, which is usually west, is the workflow. So that's getting productivity without adding more. The traditional workforce mentality is add more to do more, and that's why people are burning out. So we need to actually optimize where we are focusing our energy, where we're spending our energy, and you will see that we can actually do more, be more creative, and give higher quality than just adding more and considering it productivity.
I know in my role, I try to work smarter, not harder. So that's something that I think all of us can, learn about. And I kind of like that you break down the energy management into 4 different categories. I think that takes a really large topic and makes it a lot easier to understand. So why do you feel like this concept is so important to, any industry?
And I think where it really came out was I would go to conferences myself as an HR professional, and you would get the tools, you would get inspired, and then you get back to the workforce and reality sits in. And the tools you just learned don't mix, or you didn't get to play with it enough in a practical manner that it doesn't make sense when you try to apply it. So where this framework started coming out is playing with material and seeing how it interacts with human behavior in this fast-paced world, in a world where people change jobs more often, in a world where we're more remote, in a world that's asking for more flexibility. And when you play in that new world, you can practically apply these tools. So it was really fun to see this framework come to life back at the workforce and seeing people thrive and really attach to it and see it in action working.
Another thing I'd love to learn a little bit more about from you is workflow optimization. That's something that you taught me a little bit more about, and I think my Tag Talk readers would love to learn about it too. So could you tell me a little bit more about what workflow optimization is?
Yeah, so normally productivity, and I come from manufacturing, means more output, higher quality with lower costs. And when we take this traditional approach, you can burn out. You burn out machines, you burn out people, you burn out the product. And so when you talk about workflow, it comes from the natural flow of energy of what a human being can actually produce. And when you find that sweet spot, creative nature flows, innovation naturally flows, people naturally get along. And so when we talk about workflow optimization, we're not just talking about operationally how things flow in between departments. We're talking about processes. We're talking about where we're saving things in our technology and our files, where we're spending our energy and where we shouldn't. And here's a great question I'm gonna ask you, Megan, because we were talking about this quite a bit on our first call. Do you know your energy drainers and your energizers? And do you feed that need when the flow needs to be reset?
That's really interesting. It could be kind of fun to make that into a list and kind of see how they compare. So that's definitely something that I've been trying to get better with in the, past few years. And, for an example is at PC NameTag, we're on a lot of different social media platforms, but we were kind of trying to figure out at the beginning of this year which ones are serving us the most and where our audience members are. So instead of us doing everything and trying to do, put our eggs in all the different baskets, we've kind of scaled back a little bit so that we can really focus on LinkedIn and Instagram. So that's a great example of how we've kind of reallocated our energy spend so that we are getting more bang for our buck.
Yeah, and then you're more focused and able to become the experts in those areas versus trying to just do it all, and you're not really an expert at anything. And that kind of goes for all tasks that we're doing, but also knowing what's aligned with your energy. So maybe the more creatives are on the more creative platforms, and the more professionals and standardizations are on, the professional networks like LinkedIn. And feeding that need gets people aligned with their passions. A good example that I had was I got so far up in my ranks that I lost my why. And so when you're in the corporate minutia of meetings and strategy too long, and you're in the trenches type of worker, which I love to be on the plant floor, I love to be interacting with employees, I would go weeks without seeing employees, the people that I work for, the voice that I served. And so I decided that when I started to have those energy lows, that I would have meeting after meeting. I would go those weeks without seeing people. I decided that's not how I'm going to do my work days anymore. So I would make time to be on the floor, walk the plant floor. I would make time that I'm going to have a really bad strategy meeting. So after that, I'm going to go on the floor. I'm going to go have lunch with the guys. I'm going to go do these things that I know energize me purposefully and intentionally, because I know that's my energy flow. And I think us humans have just gotten so far in response mode that our calendars dictate our schedule that we don't know our energy flow anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting that you bring that up, because we're, talking about our audience members that we serve, but it's also interesting to kind of think about your team members and what their energy highs and lows are. So kind of going back to my social media example, we used to be kind of doing a little bit of everything, but we actually tried reallocating different platforms to different people this year. So now we know that, I'm really passionate about LinkedIn, and, another team member on our team is really passionate about Instagram, and another one is passionate about Pinterest. So now we can fill those, energy buckets by doing the things that we're really passionate about, and in turn helping PC NameTag get better engagement on social media.
Yeah. And I wanted to leave because your audience members I've worked with as well, just as a speaker, working with event planners and meeting planners. There's two more that I wanted to mention in workflow optimization. And the second one, so the first one is know your energy drainers and your energizers. And like you said, align people with that, put the right people in the right seats where they're energized and watch them flow. The second one is those moments where you're like, why is this so hard? Such a simple task. Why is this so hard? Those tasks are what we call in the corporate world broken blinkers. But if you get enough broken blinkers in your team, they become a traffic jam. And it's de-energizing to do anything throughout the day. Or when you have to do that thing, your energy level just tanks. And so slowly working through these broken blinkers in maybe your integration of software, or where you're saving files, or where you're communicating, slowly working through that will get those why is this so hard moments to go away. And you will see that maybe you only have a couple through the week versus a couple in one day. And again, you're trying to re-energize through your natural flow of energy, not waste your energy away throughout the day. And then the third one I wanted to mention is your workday flow. If you know you have a difficult task to do, don't schedule your maybe client meeting right after it. Or if you know that you have this very difficult meeting at 3 p.m., don't overload your day in the beginning, because that 3 o'clock meeting is going to be even worse. And then you drag that home. So knowing what your workday looks like and the things that do drain you and energize you will kind of predict where you need to lay out your resets, where you need to lay out your other meetings. If you have a difficult strategy meeting and then you want to have a brainstorming creative meeting right after, it's just not going to work. And that's where we get into the workflow optimization. Is in order to get into a creative space, you need to have that space. So having a creative brainstorming session in a very packed day, it's just not going to flow. You're forcing it. So understanding human nature and where creative flow happens, where tactical flow happens, and feeding that need is going to be important, especially as event professionals, where any day can run away in response mode with all the hectic things that can go on. So really taking back that flow and understanding that and delegating to the right people that energize in certain spaces is what workflow optimization is all about.
Mm-hmm. At least in my experience in the world of event planning, event planners want to do it all. They want to take it on their plate. They, want to make sure everything's perfect. They're very type A people, which is great. But it's also, you kind of have to keep in mind that when you're, taking everything on your plate, it can lead to burnout like that. So it's a good, reminder to maybe reschedule how you do things within the day. So maybe you're doing the same things, but you're just reordering it. Or maybe there's a more efficient way that you could do something that you don't lead yourself to burnout. So that leaves me to my last question for you today. If you could leave us with one piece of advice, whether it's on workflow optimization or energy management, what would you tell our event planners?
I'm going to give you something that covers all that, and that is we cause our own burnout. 2 years into recovery, that took me to realize that 90% of the actions I was doing was feeding my own burnout. So like you said, trying to do everything myself and not delegating, or training people to do so that I could delegate, not understanding my workflow and where I needed to reset and what caused my drainers, and then trying to be energized in the next meeting, not understanding that optimization and just draining myself every day. Not understanding that collaboration and communication was keeping me in survivorship mode because I wasn't feeding it correctly. All these little factors were preventable. And I had complete physical collapse of burnout, had to leave the workforce, reset my body, but it was all preventable. And so our daily actions do matter. Our energy flow does matter. And when you start down this path and you start to feel alive every day, you start to feel good when you wake up. You're excited for what work brings you that day. You're excited to work with this client. You realize how much in this blah state, this zombie state we have been. And so when I say that this is in your control, it means that you can take the steps back to energy and prevent your own burnout.
Another tip that I would add to yours is, at least I found this useful, is to treat your, self-care activities throughout the day as something that you schedule into your day. So it's kind of something that you shouldn't give up on yourself. Make sure that you're doing it because it's just as important as anything else on your plate is making sure that you are ready to step up to the plate and you feel good and excited and energized to do all those things. So that's worked really well for me. For example, at night, instead of scrolling on my phone, I'll make sure that I'm doing some reading instead, or over my lunch break, I'll go take a walk. So that's how I hold myself accountable to making sure that I, refill my energy bucket and, I'm feeling good to take on the day.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. And for those people pleasers that have a hard time holding themselves accountable, right? The day gets busy, suddenly you skip lunch. And then at the end of the night, you don't want to do anything. So then you scroll. Exactly what you're talking about, Megan. It's a good thing to share with your team or the event group that you're with, that I can't serve you and I can't serve this client and I can't keep going with this event if I don't reset myself and take care of myself. So please don't schedule meetings over lunch. And if you see me discounting my lunch, remind me, Kelly, you need to do this. You got to be here for us. Let's take your lunch. And sometimes that outside accountability, when it comes from, love and support, is all that the people pleasers need of the world, is that you're right. I need to do this because otherwise a barrel rolls.
Great. Thank you so much for teaching us so many great things today, Kelly. I really appreciate it. Kelly is on LinkedIn. I would highly recommend that you connect with her. And she also has a really great website. It is kbtrainingconnections.com. We can link to that in the video description. And I have heard that you have a book on Amazon. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's my burnout guidebook, and it has over 40 tools and techniques and tips on how to get out of burnout and the little steps you can take, both on physical, emotional, the cognitive load, and then relationship-wise, where you can navigate out of the darkness and back to this energy through my own story, my own trials and errors. So that is available on Amazon, and then I also bring it to events and do book signing.
Great. What questions do you have on energy management or workflow optimization? We would love to get back to you on those and give us our insights. So if you have any questions you want to ask us, make sure you leave those in the comments and we will get back to you. So thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know you're not lazy. Most people in burnout are high performers, those serving others before themselves. Don't discount this step today. The action in which you focus on your self-growth. Piecing together the puzzle is half the journey. Rediscovering yourself, energy, and establishing new habits is the other. Do not underestimate the untapped inner strength inside you. Explore more resources on my website to move from zombie mode back to liveliness. See you soon.